So we're going to take these 3 divs here, which don't look like anything special. We're going to add a little bit to them, then dive into the CSS and turn them into this. And yes, that is with CSS only. There's nothing else going on. It is just in CSS. If you want to know how to do that, well, you're in the right place because that's what we're going to be doing in this video. Hello and welcome back, my front-end friends, and for those who are new to this channel, my name is Kevin, and here on my channel I help you fall in love with CSS, and if not fall in love with it, at least learn enough about it to be less frustrated with it and start writing it with more confidence. And a little while ago, I looked at a whole bunch of just like mind-blowing code pens. I just couldn't believe some of the stuff that people were doing, but the whole video was inspired by a tweet I saw by Amit Sheen, where he made this really, really cool 3D animation, all CSS only, and I was just blown away. I live and breathe CSS, but that type of stuff is just beyond me. And when I was talking to him about it, he said, well, why don't I come onto your channel and show you how to do it and show your audience how to do it? And I just couldn't say no. So Amit's going to be helping me and walking me through the steps in making this happen. I am really looking forward to it. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And then hopefully from then on, I can actually incorporate some of this stuff into future videos and tutorials as well. And so, yeah, let's go see how we can make something that looks like that 3 flat objects into a spinning, bouncing thing of just wonder. All right, Amit, I just want to say thanks so much for coming and joining me here to learn on how we can do some 3D CSS wizardry as far as I'm concerned. Right now, we're literally starting with a scene that has 3 children in there. We have a floor, a cube, and a ball, and that's it. In the CSS, we just have here our bodies. Our bodies just here to center whatever we're building on, wherever we're working on. So how do we go from having just a few divs like this to having this wonderful 3D scene that we're going to be building out?
Great. So actually, let's start by positioning things. The first thing we do is going to do a class of scene, and all we do for now is going to give the class a position of relative, because everything else is going to be position. It's going to be at position absolute, but it's going to be relative to the scene. But actually, let's start with the ball, because the ball is going to be on top. So let's start with the ball. Mm-hmm. And we'll start by giving it a width and a height. Now, normally, what I'm not doing normally, I'm going to show you just for now. Normally, I'm just doing a variable of size, and then everything is relative to this variable. So it's size times 2, size times 4, size times minus 1.5, and so on and so on. But what I've started doing lately is actually using EMs, because most of the animations I do don't have text in them, and so EM, it's just a variable. So I can just do like 1 EM and in the height, and in the body itself, I can set a font size of, I don't know, for example, 50px, and when I change the font size, everything is going to change accordingly. So it's just like a variable. I'm using the font size as a variable, and it's actually working out real nice. So we're going to do it now, if it's okay. So the ball has a width and a height, and let's give it, because it's a ball, so let's give it a border radius of 50%. And just so we can see it, let's give it a background color of white.
I always use the same colors all the time. It's a little boring, but
yeah, I'm using white normally, because normally I'm just focusing on the shapes. You know, it's white. It's either white, black, or red. Okay, so this is the ball. Let's go and build our box. And our box, again, we're going to give it a width and a height, but we're going to give it like 3 EMs or 2 EMs for. Let's try 3 EM. And the background color, we actually have a variable right here there on the top.
That's right.
Of the box
what do we
color.
Call it? Box color, perfect.
Yeah. So let's use this variable. So it's kind of aqua with transparency. I don't think it's written that way.
Oh, cube. Aha, that's why. Cube. There we go.
Ah, okay. We can change.
And you're right. The color, box color. Aha. We're doing.
Yeah,
there we
box
go.
color. I use camel case.
Yeah, no problem.
It's my GS developer inside of me. Yeah. So okay. So this is the box, and the last thing we do is we're going to do the floor. The floor we'll have the width and the height with EM. Let's do like 5 EM. Actually, the box seems a bit bigger comparing to the ball. So let's do like 2 EM. For the box, and I'm going to change the font size for like 75. So yeah, okay, now that seems more in proportion. So the floor, let's do like 5 em and the height 5 em. And the background, I actually want to do a patterned background. So let's do a background image. You can do it? Okay. What I want to do is actually use repeating. Oops, I'm typing in the wrong place. Yeah.
Oops, sorry. There we go.
Repeating conic. Sorry. Gradient. We're gonna start it. I want to do like a checkerboard pattern, but in 45 degrees offset. So let's start from 45 degrees and have a dark color for let's say from 0 degrees to 90 degrees, and a little bit lighter color from 90 degrees to 180 degrees. So this is the shape that you see here.
Nice.
But obviously what we want to do is do like a background size of let's say 1 em. 1 em, 1 em, sorry. Yeah, okay, so yeah, so this is the thing. Yeah, so this is our 3 shapes. This is the 3 things that we need to do. You like to break it down?
I don't have word wrap on, so it just makes it a bit easier to keep it all on the screen.
Okay, so let's start positioning everything, and everything needs to get position absolute. Let's start with the box actually, because the box needs to be straight in the middle. Okay, so let's go to the cube and give it a position absolute, and we can transfer it into place with the translate. But I think because we know the width of the height, let's give it a top of -1 em and the left of -1 em, and I think it's going to be just going to stay there. Okay. Now let's give a position absolute to the ball and the floor also, because we want everything to be position absolute to the
absolute. And the ball. You're already ahead of me. Awesome. Collab mode is so cool.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, collab mode is cool. Yeah, Chris, yeah. Yeah, so the ball has a position absolute, and we needed to have a left of -0.5 em, and the top. I don't want to define the top, because the ball is gonna be bouncing, and I'm gonna animate the bottom. So let's give the ball a bottom of I think it's 2 em or 1 em. No, sorry, 1 em.
And I missed the left. What do we want to do on the left?
A -0.5 em, because the ball width is 1 em, and I want to take it.
Oh yeah.
-1.
Perfect.
Yeah. So okay. So now the ball is in place, and the last thing we need to position is the floor. So in the floor case, we do want to use, because we're going to play around with size, we do want to use the translate method to translate it into position. We'll add a transform translate -50%, -50%, but the center, the very center of the floor needs to be the bottom of the box. So we need to drop it like 1 em. So we'll give it a top of 1 em. So now, yeah, top of 1 em. So now you can see that the center of the floor is right in the middle, in the bottom, excuse me, of the cube. And now we need to rotate the floor, because the floor, it's not a wall, it's a floor. So we need to rotate it 90 degrees. So we'll add to the transform. Yeah, we'll add rotate.
Rotate.
On the x-axis, because this is the x-axis. We want to rotate on the x-axis 90 degrees. And now we won't see it. It's there, but it's very, very thin. It's the width, the height, it's 0. So to see it, we need to add perspective. And there is a few ways to add perspective. I saw that you add perspective to the transform a few videos ago.
Yeah,
but
it's still something for me that's a little bit like I'm just guessing to try and get it to work. So I'd love some insight on that.
So when I do a scene like we're doing here, so I like to have the perspective right on the body, and then give each element position style of preserve 3D. So
Right.
it would so I will have the same perspective all across the elements, and it would be unified. So let's add here in the body. Let's add, oh, I'm not actually here. Let's add to the body a perspective of let's say 10 em. 10 em, so it's like 750 pixels. Sounds about right. So
Cool.
yeah, we can actually see the floor right now, but it's actually very small. Let's make it bigger. Let's try for. I'm gonna try it like 15 ems for now. And okay, that's nice. Oh, and of course, what I've said is we need to give the scene transform style of preserve 3D. And oh, actually, one last thing, because I want to look at that scene a bit from the top. So let's actually add a perspective origin right here. Oops, origin, and we'll do it on the center in the middle. And but here we're going to do a little calc of 50% minus because we want to go up. Let's say 2 ems. So yeah, so we didn't saw the changes in the box and the ball, but we saw the floor moves.
So
Um,
just before we move on, when you do the perspective origin, I really get. So you're saying like we're starting in the middle, then we're moving up by 2m, so it just changes where we're looking at it a little bit. But how
exactly.
does that work with the perspective itself? Like what does the perspective 10em
So
do?
the perspective 10 em is, you can look at it as the distance you are from the 0 point of the axis.
Okay.
So if the perspective would be, for example, 20 em, so it would be like we're looking at it from farther away, and the perspective would be more less noticeable. If we're gonna do it like for 5 em, so we're gonna do like we're looking at it from very close, and everything gonna be very very skewed.
Perfect.
Uh,
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
okay. So the next phase is to build a box, a cube. Now it's not a box; it's a cube. So uh, I'm not going to go in too much into depth. I actually have an article I wrote about it in CSS Tricks that explains how perspective works and how to build a box in CSS. But the general idea is very simple. All you do is take 6 elements, 6 sides, and position each size relative to the cube itself, to the cube element. So right here in the markup, we'll add six elements. We'll add a front element. We'll add a back. It's right and a top and a bottom. Okay. So now let's go into again back to the CSS, into the cube element. And yeah, inside the cube element, let's start with the 4 sides. So it's the front, right, left, and the back. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with these 4, and let's do like one class for all 4 of them, because we want to give a lot of properties that are in all of those 4.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do a left. So let us give them a position absolute, because like again, each of them needs to be positions relative to the cube. So it's a position absolute. The width and the height needs to be 100%. We're going to animate the height of the box later on, and I want the height to be the same as the width. Oh, you took over. Okay.
Well, just while you're talking, I could fill that in.
Actually, we're going to take the background and remove it from the background color, and remove it from the box to the elements inside, because I don't want the box to have the color. So now it actually looks brighter because it's now 4 sides on one on top of it, another. So now let's start positioning them, and the easiest one to position is the front one. Okay, because all I need to do with it is to transform it. transform it to do a translate of Z because I want to move it forward of 1 em because the box is 2 em. I want to move it half of the width. So the front. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not top and bottom. I'm sorry. This needs to be the front and the back. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Okay. So now we can see the front
move forward.
Yeah.
Cool.
It moves forward. So let's do the right one. So the right one, all I need to do is to rotate it 90 degrees before I translate it. Okay. So let's do rotate on the y-axis of 90 degrees. And rotate. Yeah, so now we have the right. And the back side, I can also use just translate Z and translate it -1, but then the front side of the back won't be the front side of the front, if it makes sense.
Yep, I know, yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, so we need to like do a, exactly,
Yeah, so because when I use like pattern background or if I want it to be in the same side, or maybe if you use backface visibility, I want the front to be the front.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the back, and the last one will be the left, which will be 270 degrees. So now we have 4 sides. The next thing we're going to do is the top. Like we're going to do like this. So the top is also have a position absolute, but the width and the height, I don't want it to change with the size of the box, of the cube. So I'm going to give it like 2 ems, the width and the height, so it won't change when I'm going to animate the box.
Right, yes.
The background is going to be the same background, but we're going to need transform. We're going to do 2 things. First, we need to translate it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it translate y -50%. And we need to rotate it, on the x-axis 90 degrees. So now we have the top, and we're going to leave the bottom for now alone. We're going to get back to it in a second.
Cool.
But this is the first step to position things in this 3D world. If we have more objects, we can translate them and move them inside, like maybe to do chessboard. I don't know. This floor makes me think of but there's actually, when we build a 3D scene, there's 2 things that we need to do to fool our brains, because it's not real 3D. It's our screens are flat. One of them is the perspective, and we can see that the CSS engine really helps us with it. But the next thing is lighting. Lighting is a very strange subject, and sometimes a very slight difference can make a very big difference. And our minds, like things like shadows, actually helps our minds determine what is the size of things and what is the locations of things. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about lighting, or again, shading. And let's start with the easiest thing is the floor. Okay, so we want to have a single light source that comes from the top. So if we look at the floor, so we want the center of the floor to be brighter, and as far as we go, it's going to be darker. So let's go back to the floor, and we're going to add, actually going to drop it here. We have a repeating conic gradient, and right above it, we're going to add another gradient, because we're working with shadows, so everything is very gradient. We're going to work with a lot of gradients. So let's do radial gradient. And we want the center to be transparent, because we want to be as bright as can. Let's do a transparent center. And as far as you go, let's do a black, let's comma here. And it's not going to work because the background size need
Right,
to be
yep.
100%, comma, yeah. Okay,
So
so
cool.
yeah, but actually now, because the radial gradient takes the distance from the center to the corner, not to the side,
Mhm.
let's do it a bit like 75%. So it would look more round.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is the floor. Now let's look at the box. There is a trick I've started doing lately. Sometimes I do animations with a lot of divs, a lot of elements, and I can't do it in those animations because it's getting heavy. But here we don't have a lot of elements, so it's okay. And what we're going to do, we're going to add for each child of the box, for each side of the box, we're actually going to use a box shadow. Uh, let's do like a 0, 0, M, I don't know, and let's do it back for now, and we're going to give it inset. And yeah, it already
Oh,
looks better.
that's crazy the difference that makes.
Yeah, actually, it's a bit darker. Let's give it a bit more lighter. Yeah, now it looks good, and give the same thing to the top. So the box already looks much better. And now let's talk about the bottom, because we have the bottom, but we didn't actually use it. So now let's put the bottom in use. Just so we can see it, let's do the background of white for now. And yeah, but it needs to be bottom, because it needs to be in the bottom 0, and the translate needs to be positive. Yeah, so now we have the bottom. But oh, I forgot. Yep. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, we have the bottom in the bottom, but let's give it a dark, like something like that, like black with opacity. And the box shadow, it doesn't need to be inset; it needs to be outset. So now we have like a seam. The place where the box touches the floor, there's like a little shadow comes out of it.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, so like if I'm turning it off, so you can see it's off. It's very gentle,
Mhm.
but that's exactly what I say. It's those small things that actually makes the difference. Like the ball, it's not just the shading of the ball; it's the casting of the shadow that it does on the top of the box.
Mhm.
So let's actually go to the ball now. Okay, you take it. Let's do
Sure.
what we want to do, because the light is directly from the top. We want to do a background image of again radial gradient, and we want it to be like a circle at top, because I want to start at the top. Well, yeah. So it's you do like a really circle at top.
Mhm.
Okay, and the very top needs to be very bright, so let's do it
White. Yep.
white. Or again, it could be light blue if you want.
Oh, sure.
And the bottom actually needs to be very, very dark, so let's do it black. It can be a dark blue, but let's do it black for now. And it should wait, this needs to be a comma. Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah,
okay.
that's crazy.
So now we have a lighting. Oh, and by the way, I do want to talk about something. Just for now, I'm going to do it in one line, just
Yep.
so we can see it. Actually, those two colors actually have a midpoint in the middle, and you can actually control it. A lot of people don't know it,
Yep.
but it actually has like a 50% a midpoint, a hint in the middle, and you can change it. You can change it, like for example, do it like 30, and then you'll have more shadows. And if you change it for like 70, then it would have like more lighting. So I actually sometimes use it. I don't change the position of the color, just the position of the midpoint between them.
Mm.
When you're doing gradients, when you're working with a lot of gradients, you really should know how to work with it. Yeah, so the last thing that we need to do is, as I said, doing the shadow of the ball on the box.
Mhm.
And the mistake a lot of people do is that they put it like it's a pseudo class or a sub element of the ball itself, but it shouldn't be of the object that casts the shadow. It should be relative to the object that the shadow is casting on. So it should be relative to the top, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I can actually use it with pseudo class. Maybe if it would be my animation, it probably would use a pseudo class. But for now, for readability, we're going to add an element here.
Okay.
Let's call it a ball shadow. If you agree with me, I can do it with a pseudo element.
Pseudo class. I'm a big fan of pseudo class or pseudo elements. So yeah.
Me too. But again, this is we wanted people to learn, so this is just for readability.
Yeah.
I think it's more clear.
Yeah.
So let's put the ball shadow right here between the ball and the cube. And again, the ball shadow needs to be a position absolute relative to the top. It needs to have the same width and the height of the top, height 100%. And again, just so we can see it, you can see it white, but we don't want to use it. We do want to have background image of, again, radial gradient, but here it needs to be
the other way around.
Yeah, exactly, the other way around. So the center is going to be real dark, and the farther you go, it's be lighter. Let's get rid of the background color. Yeah, so now you can see it, but it actually needs to be smaller because the ball is hitting the cube, so it needs to be smaller, and it actually needs to be lighter. So let's do like 7.
This is the first time I see using the hex for the alpha values, and it's the first time I see value, like how quickly you're just able to make the changes on there. Just when you're using it only on black, it's actually pretty intuitive.
Yeah, when you use only on black, it's intuitive, but I'm actually so used to working on hex. I'm trying to getting used to the new syntax.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard. I'm trying, like at work, and I'm trying to work with the new syntax, but it's hard. I'm so used to working with hexes. I'm working with hexes for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is all the shading. I think all the shading I wanted to do, and the last thing that we want to do is start animating things. Yeah, we're gonna start.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
It looks awesome right now. I mean, just to interrupt, I guess before we jump into it, I just want to say, like, right away, just adding the shadows on there for me is like, just using the inset shadow. Like for me, I never would have thought of doing that, and now that I see it, it's like, oh yeah, why wouldn't that works perfectly? And then also just like adding that little shadow on the bottom thing, like it makes so much sense to do something like that. But yeah, really cool. It's amazing the difference that those shadows make on there, or the fake shadow.
If you take like a snapshot of the same image before and after the shadowing part, it's a real different image, and it does make all the difference. So let's start with animation. We want to animate a few things. First of all, when I do 3D scenes, a lot of the times I love to have the camera like rotating 360 degrees around the scene. I don't really rotate the camera because I can't. I just rotate the scene in front of the camera. So when I do a 3D scene, it really gives the feeling of, oh, there's width and height to things, and depth, and there's really feel like a real 3D render. So that's the first animation we're going to do. We'll add it to the scene. Oh, I just remember something. We forgot to add the transform style to the box, to the cube, because it also has child. If I wouldn't add it when we start rotating things, it would look weird. We can look at it later on. So let's add the animation. You add the animation.
Sure.
Here to the scene.
Line 40, sorry, I'm trying to find the right line. 48.
19.
Oh, 19. Whoops. Oh, there we go. Animation. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so you're here? Okay.
Yep.
Let's call it, I don't know, scene rotate or whatever you want to call animations, whatever Perfect. You use to. The speed, because we're gonna need two variables. We're gonna need the rotate speed, and we're gonna need the bounce speed. So let's add a variable here, like var rotate speed, And we'll do it infinite, obviously, and linear, because we want the rotations to be linear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's do keyframes, and it's gonna be really easy. I'm just gonna do a 2 transform. I'm gonna rotate it on the y-axis 360 degrees. Now we can see that we can't see. What did I miss?
The rotate speed.
Of course. Let's add a rotate speed. Let's do it slow. Let's do like 30 seconds. So now we can see that it rotates.
That's so cool.
But look at the ball. We can actually now see that the ball is not a ball, it's just a thin shape, a thin element. So the trick to solve it, it's very simple. You take the animation of the scene itself, okay, and come to the ball, and we're going to add the same animation to the ball, but we're going to add a reverse to it. And then what happens is that the scene is rotating, but the ball is rotating counter direction. So our minds see the ball and we see, we'll see the same shape from different directions, and it's always circle. It must be a ball. Okay?
That just makes me so happy.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the rotation. Now let's make the ball bounce. And when we talk about bouncing, we need to remember one thing: the timing function of is different with different directions. So when the ball goes up, the timing functions need to be is out, and when it goes down, it needs to be is in. Now, there's a few ways to solve it. One of it is by using just is out and alternate, because when it alternates, it alternates to is in. But we can also animate the timing function. And I actually didn't know it until not too long ago. So we're going to do it with animating the timing function, okay?
That's cool. I'd never heard of that before. That sounds cool.
Yeah, that's why I thought about it. I thought that maybe I will even teach you something.
Yeah.
So let's go to the ball right here. Oh, we already have the animation here. So we'll add another animation. Let's call it ball bounce. The speed. Did I add the bounce speed? Oh no. So let's add bounce speed of let's say 2 seconds. I don't know. Bounce speed, and again, it needs to be infinite. And let's start with ease out. I'm gonna animate it back to ease in later. Oops, sorry. And let's do the keyframes. Oops, no, it needs to be a comma. Yeah, okay. And let's add the keyframes. Okay. So the initial and the end point, the 0% and the 100%. Okay, I'm going to animate the bottom, as I said. Okay, so the initial, the 0% and the 100% should be 1 EM, but the 50% needs to be way higher. So let's say, for example, 3 EM. Okay, and now we have the ball bouncing. Now, but you can see that the direction on the way down, as I said, it's is out and it should be is in. So we can just add it right here inside the keyframe. We'll add animation timing function is in. And now the ball is bounce.
Wow.
Okay. It actually needs to be a bit faster. Maybe, I think. Oops, 1.5.
For something like that where you're changing the timing function in the animation, is it just like, that's not like, it's literally going to get, when it gets to the 50%, it sort of like switches from one to the other one. And then, so that's why it's working one direction, then working the other way?
Yeah, so because what we're seeing is that between 0 and 50 we get the same ease out, and in
And then
50% it's moving back to ease in.
Perfect.
Because it doesn't it's like custom variables. It doesn't translate between them, but it does move the values.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the shadow, because the ball moves, but the shadow doesn't move. And if you think of what would happen in the real world, so the shadow would become bigger and a bit less opaque, right? So let's animate the ball shadow, and it actually needs to be very similar to the ball bounce, I think. It needs to, let's call it ball shadow. It needs to be the same. Yeah, it needs to be the same thing. We actually need to use the same trick, let's call it, of the timing function.
Right. Yeah.
That needs to be like this. Okay, and yeah. Okay, thank you.
We're both doing it. There you go.
Yeah, but obviously we don't need to move the bottom. What we need to do is to have the transform scale. Let's here the initial would be 1, obviously, and when it's up, let's say 2. So now we can see the shadow becomes bigger. Let's actually we can see it from the top a bit higher. Let's change it to 2.5. And let's get back to the animation. We also need to add an opacity. Again, we'll start with 1, and here we're gonna do like I don't know, 0.5. Yeah. So now the shadow acts like a real shadow, and again, those little differences really make a big difference.
That's awesome.
So the last thing I want to do, because I said we're going to animate the box, I really like to imitate collision. If you see, I did like dominoes animation and things, because animating real collision, we don't have any collision engine, obviously, with CSS. So I want to animate so when the ball hits the cube, so the cube goes like wank. Okay, so. Yeah. So the last animation, I think, yeah. So first thing first, let's correct the ball. So I want the ball when it starts, it actually needs to starts a bit lower now. So instead of 1 EM, let's do like 0.5 EM. Okay. So now we can see that the ball will start here.
Yeah, it's like sinking lower. In. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's add. Let's copy this and go to the cube. I'm gonna add the animation. Let's call it cube. Yeah, no, don't worry about it. Cube height. Okay. Here, because the movement is gonna be real fast, so the timing function doesn't really matter. But let's do it linear, so just so it would be easier. And again, the same idea. We actually don't need this anymore. So the cube height. What happened here? Oh, it looks weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I need to change. Yeah, I said I need to change the height. So the initial height at 0 and 100 degrees. 100% needs to be 1.5, right? Because that's the bottom.
Right.
No, that's not good. Oh, because the box is actually moved to the top. It needs to be on the bottom. So not the top. It needs to be bottom -1. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. And in 50%, but it's not really 50%. It needs to be in the full size, 2 EM. But so now the box is moving, but it's not moving like I want it to move, because it's not 50. It actually needs to be like a range, something like, I don't know, something between 20% and 80%. It's not 80%. So So most of the time, between 20 and 80%, it's going to be in the top, and just when the ball comes in, it's going to move. But it's not the exact numbers, and we will need to do some fine tuning and trial and error to get the exact number. Let's do the bounce speed a bit slower for now, and we actually need to get just one number because the other number is just the exact
Right.
opposite of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try 90%. It's not
Almost.
quite there. 95% would be, I think, a bit too much. We can see it. If it's too much, we can actually see the ball going in the box. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay, so we can see it. So let's 93 would probably be okay. And this is the exact fine tuning that can take animation anywhere between an hour and 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost there. Let's do 95 and 93.5, and it's going to be okay. And so the other side is going to be 100 minus 93.5, so it's 6.5. So yeah, now we can actually see that when the ball comes to the box, it really looks like there's contact between the box and the release. Actually, we can have a bit slower release, like the box is coming back to place. So maybe not 6.5, maybe like 8. And let's move the speed back to 1.5. So now it looks.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're being picky, just one last thing, the shadow, because the shadow now needs to be on the full size
Right.
a bit sooner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a 0 degree. No, this is it's not just a 0%. It's also 8%, 8% and
93.5. Yeah.
93.5%. Oops, percent. Yeah, I'm a bit nitpicky in these things, but now it looks much better. Yeah, so that took a while, but now we have a 3D render of a scene, and I thought about this shape, by the way, because I think there's a lot of things, a lot of elements that I work on in a lot of my animation that are in it together. Like there's a box and a ball and the moving and everything. And I actually pretty happy with the result. So what do you say?
Yeah, I'm blown away by it. I think it's just like whenever I'd see things like this, it just I'd have no idea where to even start. And there's obviously a lot of work that does go into it, and you're making it look easy just because obviously your experience with it makes it easier to know where to start with a lot of it, like even just making the cube or something. But it's not that complex. There's the fine tuning, especially the animations. I think that would take me forever to figure out how to get the right numbers on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error, trust me.
Yeah. But just like the simplicity of like the gradient on the ball itself, or the like that for me, and just doing the reverse animation on that, like it's not complex, but the effect of it is just amazing and so cool. So I think something I definitely want to play with more, and but yeah, I'm blown away. Even looking at it now, like I'm impressed by it, and it sort of took a little bit, like I understand more how it's actually working, but it doesn't make it any less impressive. I think it's so cool.
Thank you. But now you can know. Now you know where to start. Now, if you
Yeah.
want to do something, you can actually start and do it. I'm actually excited to see you work with 3D animation, because I see your channel, for years. You know me, but I always wanted you to do things with 3D animation. You almost never did it.
Yeah.
Very very rarely. So maybe now we can see more. I will be happy to see it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try and squeeze some different things, and I need to find some ways to challenge myself to make sure I don't forget everything we discovered. So I'll be diving in.
Great.
And yeah, just thank you so much for your time and coming on here to help me out with
Thank you
this.
for having me.
For anybody who is following that wants to know where they can find more of your stuff, what's the best places they can go to follow what you're up to?
Well, the best place is Twitter at Amit Sheen. I think you would put a link down there.
Yeah, there'll be a link in the description.
I
Definitely follow. Like I'm just every time he tweets one of his new things, I'm in amazement. So definitely worth the follow.
Thank you. Yeah, I work original content, a lot of animations, a lot of CSS. Not only CSS, mainly CSS. I explore a lot of things, a lot of content inside CSS, and so the best place is Twitter, or CodePen if you want to just see the work itself. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So yeah, there's links to everything down in the description below. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and until next time, don't forget to make your corner of the internet just a little bit more awesome.